Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Outback Gamehouse, Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle Earth. So this week we've had a few things to go over, mostly the Reddit AMA that we had a couple of days ago. So additional news in regards farmability pieces. So I guess we'll start with the farmable characters, Legolas and Gimli. So they are now farmable as well, in addition to Arwen and Elladan as marquees.
Yes.
Legolas has gone to the arena store, and Gimli has gone to guild campaign 2.5. So uh, both of those very good news, better than Shadow Hard 5.9.
Yeah.
Gimli, especially, anyone in the guild campaign is pretty very easy farm.
Yeah.
Legolas in an arena store.
It's still pretty decent because if you're sitting silver to goldish, it's about I think 5 shards per day,
Yeah, so
roughly.
you'll be able to buy him once a day based on what you earn in arena.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's fine. Like it's at least you know what you're getting,
Mm.
um, and you can plan around that.
Yeah.
The only downside to arena store is you are, you know, tied to whatever you're earning in arena. So,
Mm.
and you can't, farm more than that either. Like one, you've only got a set amount of credits to farm with.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to speed farm him, trying to get him up to 7 stars before Elrond comes around, it's probably going to be impossible to do because you've unfortunately got a finite amount of arena credits to work with. At least with the guild store, you need more, guild credits. You can farm those and get additional credits that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, in saying that, I still think the arena store is a good store. Like I said, at least the positive is at least you can plan around. Okay, I'm going to get him 5 a day, and
Yeah.
then you know when you're going to get him to certain star levels because of that. So
Yeah.
I think both of those are great news for the community.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I'm going to farm up Gimli just yet because I really need those purple materials, the
Mm.
purple bottles. But it's not like a long farm or anything. I can get it done within a few days to a week. So I'll probably just do it closer to when we unlock Gandalf, or if he's needed for something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's fair enough. I mean, I I'm farming him. I mostly need the yellows, so I still get a um, good amount of yellows from 2.5, and then yeah, I've kind of got some of the dwarves built, semi decently, and if I do go after Balin, then I've got at least a team that he can slot into.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so but yeah.
Especially with the bug fixes for the dwarves today. Yes.
Yeah. So uh,
It'll actually be a usable team now.
yeah, they've had some love. A lot of the dwarf fans have been begging for some changes or some fixes. I
Yes.
think each of them have had issues. It's not
Yeah.
just one particular character. It's
I think it's Killy. He didn't apply, I think he's bleed to the chapter 2 boss correctly. I believe Biffa didn't apply his blind correctly either, or he's slow, one of the two. Um, yeah, the whole list of things that wasn't really working. I think there's still one or two that they didn't fix from what I'm aware, but I couldn't tell you which ones those. which ones it is. I haven't
Yeah,
looked into
so
the dwarves at all.
Gilly Special 2 was not stacking bleeds correctly if the cave troll had boons on himself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Apparently, they fixed that. They resolved an issue where Biffa's Special 2 was not applying slow to the troll in Chapter 2.
Yeah.
And I believe that was it, actually, in terms of the.
Okay. I think there's.
Well, I'll go through the fixes that they in the latest patch notes. So they fixed an issue where several of Elrond's abilities were not applying to most wounded squad members. Fixed an issue that inadvertently allowed certain passive abilities to be counted as boons and banes. This allowed characters like Frodo and Naramiri to trigger their passives in unintended ways.
Yeah, the Naramiri one.
The Naramiri one. I was hoping they didn't get around to that quickly because having those stacks of nimbles were actually
yeah, actually pretty useful for chapter 3.
yeah. But unfortunately, people flagged it. So, address an issue where the cost required was accidentally too low when leveling up Denethor's just 2 abilities. So, Denethor 2. Sorry, I don't know which one it was, and I wish I kind of knew because I am always low on ability, Matt. So
I don't think it was ability mats. I think it was gold because when I was
the cost, right?
Yeah, it was like it cost 1 gold to I think level his leadership or his passive. It was just like that's just not correct.
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna level him eventually.
Yeah.
Whatever. Fixed an issue.
I think it was only for like the first level of it. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they addressed an issue where Elrond's leader ability was granting fortitude before extending the duration of burns. I wasn't aware of that, but
yeah, neither was I.
So I guess now he'll extend the duration of burns before granting fortitude, is how I read that. But
yeah, sure. Sounds like it.
Readjusted the requirement text to be more clear with rare and curious quests. Not sure which quest that was. I've finished all my quests. So.
Yeah.
Fixed an issue with Brute where his passive toxic blood was afflicting poison on himself. I use Brute a lot and I've never had him poison on himself, so that's an odd one. Adjusted the description of level 4 of Boromir's passive to properly describe the number of stacks of regeneration the player can expect. Okay. Fixed an issue where Irma's PvE unit was gaining more than max stacks of assistance. This only affects campaigns where Irma's PvE unit is present. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Resolved an issue preventing Denethor and Boromir's offer from appearing correctly in the web store. Okay. The web store Remember Me functionality now works correctly. Wow.
Do that. Let's see if it works.
I mean, the amount of times I've played that dance with the web store. Thought it would have remembered me by now.
You'd want to hope so. It doesn't remember me, but I don't think I clicked it last time. I'll do that later. Anyway.
I mean, it was just funny when you mentioned that they had the same issue in Star Wars Galaxy of Hero.
Yeah.
And didn't learn from their mistake or didn't make any learnings at all. Because yeah, I'm assuming it's fixed.
You'd want to hope
Um,
so.
I mean, it would be the first time they've said something's fixed, but it's not. It's like the roster, the default roster,
Yeah. My God, that hurt me in so many ways.
where it was done by
Like star progress or something like
yeah
that.
star progress, but it wasn't quite. But
Yeah.
that was the closest thing anyone could assign it to. Then they
Yeah.
came out saying, "Hey, it's fixed. We're finally it's finally doing it by power." And then
Yes.
everyone logged in and went, "Is it though?"
I think it's been
But it's fixed now.
improving. Yeah.
It's fixed now. No, but
Yeah, the first time. Yeah.
the first time they came out saying like back in August or even
Yeah.
July saying, "Hey, we fixed it." Like, no, you didn't. Anyway, fixed a soft lock that was happening in Guild Campaign 4.7. Addressed the soft locks that occurred during the cave troll fight after topple when stun or disable is inflicted.
The new res bug, yes.
Yeah. So Nuraz and I think Uglug with his
Yeah.
Uglug. I think I believe it was Uglug. Um, I think there was a few turns that were causing soft locks on that fight. So that's good that they've addressed that. And then they've addressed various graphical animation rendering issues, localization, translation improvements. So yeah, I mean it was a good fix and improvements. Web store. Speaking of web store, the gem listings they're now on the web store. So that's stuff like spending 1,000 gems on a marquee character chest, for instance, and any other gem purchases will now be visible on the web store as well.
Fair enough.
Um, the weekly supplies will have a bit of a shuffle in terms of characters. So Rockma, Miri, Albarad, Berendel, and Sergeant Ara will be removed from the weekly supplies after I think in a day or two when it refreshes. And then instead we'll see Shagrat, Ironhide, Fro, Philly, Killy.
Yeah.
So I am devastated Albarad is leaving the web store. I mean the weekly store because I was keen to keep farming him.
Yeah. I
But
got mine to 5-star finally, so I'm happy with that for now at least.
yeah, I've had him at 5-star, but I was trying to get him to 6.
Yeah. I only just got him to 5 because I was farming, like, when the game first started, I was farming Bulk a bit more than Halbarad because I just liked him better. And then everyone was like, yeah, nah, Halbarad is just better. I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Bolg has a good kit. Like on paper, he's got a decent kit, looks strong, just something missing, and I think it's maybe team wise. I mean,
I think,
Halberad's a plug and play, and I think
yeah,
Bolg is as well. I think the speed probably hurts him the most.
I think the speed and, well, just the fact that they're missing a character from that
Yeah,
team.
but I mean, like as a plug and play character, he still reads
Hmm.
well as a plug and play character. But I think yeah,
Yeah.
potentially his speed is what's hurting him.
Yeah. It could also just be, as we're finding out more and more, like you just need to invest in teams, in characters for them to like really pay off. And I don't know, maybe just people haven't done that with Bulk too much yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a few, but yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Um, but yeah, I mean, still think characters like Ironhide in a guild campaign store, guild campaign node going to that
Yeah, the
a
weekly
bit of a
store.
waste
Yeah.
because I wouldn't spend gems on the store when you could spend the same gems on the guild campaign node and probably get more shards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
that's a bit of an odd one, but anyway. Um, Biffa is now in the supply store for gems.
Mhm.
Purchase for either 5 or 10 character shards. We spoke about Legolas. We spoke about Gimli. Um, the raid changes are now live
Yes.
with Chapter 1.
We've been seeing lots of good things about it so far.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people have suggested that they've seen about a 30-40% improvement in their scores post update. Starting to see some elf teams, um, you know, doing decently in difficulty 4 as well. I saw a screenshot earlier of a Rivendell team hitting about 1.1 million, so 200 over the difficulty 3 cap, 200k over, which is good. It's good to see, and a lot of other teams that were getting about 400k now posting 900k in difficulty 3. So I think it's now a matter of just getting that bomb into 5 stacks, which seems to be a lot easier of a task for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And just getting him to hit his own team. And even if you do the 2 bomber strat to kill a wave, it's still a lot easier than what it was before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
I mean, as I was saying in like Guild earlier, like teams like RTR, Brohan, Isengard, they're just going to be able to get those five stacks so quickly just because they have so much assists and like, yeah.
Yeah.
And RTR, I can just imagine getting 900k super easy now.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be great. And as I mentioned, even before we saw the changes go live, difficulty 2 is now going to be chapter 2 is now going to be
Yeah, the
the
OG
raid
one.
that everyone hates.
I don't know. I actually don't mind chapter 2 that much. Like, it's annoying when you get um the what's it called, the guards, when you get the minions
I
pop up.
don't. I don't mind that so much. It's once you have toppled him in the second kind of process, the second phase, he's just so random. He'll just
Yeah.
lose his shit and take 4 turns in a row, and that's it. You're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes he'll lose his shit and do his, the rock shower move, and he'll go back into his corner, and that's him done. But sometimes he'll like lose his shit, go and take his anger out on someone, suddenly take his big AOE move, the rock shower. Then you're like, okay, cool, I can recover from this. But then he's at it again, and he's one shot someone, gone and one shot someone else, and you're just like, what?
I know that with one of his abilities, he gains like 100% turn meter. I forgot which one. I think it is the rock shower. I think if you like kill someone with it, I don't quite remember, but yeah.
I don't know. It's just and then getting him to toppled is significantly harder, and then once he is toppled, finishing him off is also significantly harder. So, I mean, I still don't mind it. It's just it's something that will take a while to overcome. So I think once you do get your teams to a certain level, I think that becomes negligible. But until then, it's just frustrating. So I think that was all in terms of the patch notes.
Just besides the
Balin.
Yeah.
But also, they've given us dates for Arwen and
Yeah, that's
Elladan's
right.
return.
Yes.
So Arwen is coming back again. So
Mm,
this is a second return, actually. So October 9th to the 16th, we'll have a marquee event return. And then Elladan's October 11th to October 18th.
yeah.
But this kind of leads on to parts of the AMA.
Mm,
So I think we'll jump on to that. Um, so obviously they mentioned Legolas and Gimli will be farmable. We've got that now. Devs, they did note that the devs only work with the Hobbit, so only the books as well, so not the movies. So they only work with the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the Appendices when it comes to the characters available for them to work with.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think most of the community did know that, but I think there are a few that come in and expect, say, the movie license, and disappointed when it's not. So unfortunately, the way, and it's not CG, it's the way the Tolkien estate has been split up. It's
Yeah.
been split into two. Um, and yeah,
Pretty much. It's kind of like what happened with Spider-Man in a way. Before
yeah, yeah,
Marvel just kind of went, yeah, this is ours now.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's just a legal thing,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Elrond event. So they mentioned he will return sometime before the end of the year, but also after the marquee events of Arwen and Elladan. So, as I mentioned, Elladan's marquee event ends on October 18th. So, sometime between that date and end of year, we'll see Elrond's return. So, I'm working towards October 18th because it could be the very next day for all we know.
Yeah.
As when I'm trying to get my current farming elves to 7 star. Um, Arwen's pretty much there, so it's mostly the other two trying to get 7 stars.
Yeah.
Next legendary hero will be released till the end of the year. They said it as a hint that it is someone from the Hobbit. So it's been a bit of speculation around that.
Yes, you received my just paragraphs of speculation the other night.
Yeah. I mean, do I know?
I I reckon. Well, I had a theory that it was going to be Azog from The Hobbit, but
Mm-hmm. He
that,
seems to be a fan favorite. I've been seeing a lot
yeah.
of that from others as well.
But the only thing that kind of shoots that down is he's dead in the books, but he's alive in the movies. So
Well, I mean, set aside the movies.
yeah,
As far as their licensing agreement, as long as there's a reference to them in the books, that's all that matters. Like as long as their name, the character is in the book,
yeah,
not necessarily that the character has to be alive in the book.
yeah,
As long as the name is present in the text, that's all that matters from what I understand.
yeah,
And because of that reason, they can use various other characters as well.
yeah, pretty
So
much.
I think as far as that goes, he still is a character that they can utilize.
Mm. Well, I mean, it was like as I was saying to you the other night, it would be the fifth character for the Misty Mountain Orcs.
Hmm.
Um, God, what did I say? I'm just having a mental blank now. I think the
I mean, you
other,
said a bit.
yeah, I think the other contester is Thorin Oakenshield, but
Mm.
uh, I'm not entirely sure if they would release him without the other Thorin's company dwarves. I mean, they could. It's not really reason why they couldn't. I
Mm.
just would find it weird because it kind of just splits the dwarves awkwardly.
Like CG would be against that either.
Yeah, true. Uh, yeah, I think those are the two big ones, Thorin or Azog. And I think another big one I saw was Sauron the Necromancer.
Uh,
But I feel like that would be more of a I don't know if they would do that early. I feel like they would want power creep to be up a bit more before they release someone like Sauron.
but I mean, there's various versions of Sauron.
Yeah, yeah,
Like Sauron the White, I imagine would be the big. Uh, yeah, maybe. But
yeah,
um, yeah, that would be interesting. I was actually initially leading towards Thorin because we got Thorin's company.
hmm.
Um, and even if they do release him and he splits the dwarves, I don't think that's a huge thing because it's going to happen eventually anyway. We're going to
Yeah,
have multiple dwarf teams at some point.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I, I'm leaning towards the shadow mainly because we've had one light legendary, technically two light legendaries actually, if you include Gandalf.
yeah, kind of. I don't include him as a legendary, but
Well, at least one.
yeah,
And I would think or would like to think that the next legendary would be part of the shadow.
shadow. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense for them to do a shadow legendary, but there's also no reason why they have to.
Oh no, that's more hope than anything else.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think if they were going to release a Shadow Legendary, it would probably be Azog or like
Hmm.
some sort of version of him. And
Yeah.
watch, a few weeks from now, all this will just be completely flipped upside down, and we're going to be completely wrong.
Well, oh, maybe he's the next What If character. Maybe it's What If Azog
Yeah,
had
that
survived.
yeah, that is also a potential.
They have endless opportunities now with the What If
Yeah.
shattered timeline.
Yeah. What if, but just Azog from the movies?
Yeah.
Technically could work.
I mean, they just it technically is a what if.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them a workaround. Um, no info. These are the gem purchases in the main store. No info if Great Goblin, Brute, Aldred are added to any sort of farmability,
Yeah.
at least in the nearest future.
I imagine they will be, like, eventually, but yeah. I think
Yeah, I
they'll
mean,
probably do the weaker ones first, obviously, like Aldred, because
well, I mean, it sucks that marquees come into the store and then leave the store, and then you got someone like Aldred
yeah.
still there, which makes no sense because he's not that great. He's okay. But
I mean, for all we know, they could be saving them for another game mode or something like that as well, or another type of store
could
for a
be,
game mode.
maybe in a future raid where it's the required team is Rohan.
Yeah.
Who knows? At some point, we might get mounted units, like Theoden on a horse or Gothmog on a warg.
This kind of can't think of the word. Kind of goes against what they said initially, because I believe they said they're not going to do anything like that, because a question of like, will they do anything like ships from Galaxy of Heroes? And I believe they said they're not planning to, but now it sounds like it's on the table. So,
well,
or somewhat.
not technically on the table. To be able to do it, they need to resolve a few technical problems for it to happen. And I think, like coming from MSF, they couldn't do any sort of quad characters or anything like that because their base model is bipedal. So
yes,
to go to a non-bipedal character in MSF was near impossible. I think they had to do a lot of tweaking to get characters like Rocket and recently Cosmo into their game rather than any other bipedal character where they just use the model that they have and just build the design around it.
Right. Yeah.
And I imagine most of these hero collectors have the same basis where they have a base model and then they do the design around that. So, all the wireframe.
Yeah.
Like that. So,
I'm not sure how it works in Galaxy of Heroes, but ships in that is just like a completely, essentially a separate roster. So you'd have your capital ship on the left, and then you'd have three just character type ships like Anakin, Starfighter, Ahsoka's, and stuff like that. And then you'd be able to call in reinforcements from the capital ship.
Yeah.
And that would bring out more character ships onto the field.
Yeah. So in Star Wars lore and, for Star Wars, that kind of makes sense having a whole ship fleet roster.
Yeah.
But like, what would they translate that to for Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's not like you could just do animals because it's like it's really boring.
Yeah, exactly. Like it'd be cool to have that mechanic here, but what they use it for,
I feel like if they were gonna kind of copy Galaxy of Heroes, they could do sort of the same thing where they have, like, say, King Theoden as your capital ship, and then you have Aragon mounted and like Legolas and Gimli, all different type of characters, but they're just mounted characters now. You could have it set up like that. I don't really know. Or if they just want to do it as like a large unit type of thing.
Yeah. I could see a large unit. Otherwise, I'd say they're just, the whole trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole kind of thing. Anyway, squad management is one of the future features. That would be very welcomed if once we get that.
Hopefully they don't. I don't see why they would, but please don't do what MSF did and only give us a select number of squads to use. Just it's so bad. Looking back at MSF and just seeing how bad that was compared to Galaxy of Heroes, where you can literally just have an unlimited amount of squads. It's so bad.
It's still bad in MSF. Each patch, they've got to give us like an extra, 5 or whatever it is, just because with each new teams that are released, we end up hitting the cap.
Wow.
And that's just based on, each character just being on a single team in our squad select.
Mm.
I just don't understand why they just can't give us like an endless amount, because they just got to keep upping the number each time.
Like, sure, they've made a ridiculous amount of money from that game. Surely they can use some of it for like more servers or whatever you need for it. Like, surely.
Yeah, I've got no idea. But yeah, hopefully in Lord of the Rings they don't do that.
Fingers crossed.
Devs are currently testing with a maximum of 3 speed per secondary stack with a maximum of 5 stacks per glyph. So each character can have 6 glyphs equipped, which maxes out at 90 speed per unit on a perfectly rolled set of glyphs. So 90 speed.
That's a lot more than what I thought they were going to do.
I mean, again, this is the perfect roll,
To give you an idea of how rare that would be to get a 90 speed mod, in Galaxy of Heroes, which 30 is basically like the perfect mod, speed mod, I've seen one in the 3 years I've played.
Right.
So it's pretty much impossible. But you can definitely get a lot. I'd assume that we're going to see a lot of like 70s, 80s.
Yeah. Which is still a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to go that high, but
again, they're testing. Hopefully they see that it's probably a bit too high. Drop that number down.
I think 50 should be the highest. And even that's still pretty high, but like it gives what they want to achieve, which is
tweaking the turn order a bit.
Yeah. And it also just gives you the basically like, I just want this character to be super fast, I think. Which is a problem in itself, but personally, I don't mind it. But yeah, I can also see why people don't like it.
Well, I mean, 90
is a lot. That's like, I think, more than half of what most characters have at the moment.
Yeah, I was trying to find the speed table, but anyway, even so, 90 would just completely flip things.
Yeah.
But they did mention their goal still remains to give players agency of their characters and squads, allowing each of us to craft a strategy for our teams that works best for us. Again, they did say that all this is subject to change as they're still continuing with balanced testing. Character XP is something on their radar, one of their top priorities for improving the experience that us players have in needing to grind multiple squads. And we don't have, they don't have an XP calendar planned per se, but they do have plans to add additional XP in other places in the game. So
it's 100% intentional. I can see that as they get closer to the release of the multi-squad PvP, where you want to start building a bit wider, is when they'll start to ease up that bottleneck.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are coming from MSF and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which, you've got to keep in mind that both those games are very they're mature games. And Galaxy of Heroes been around 8 years, MSF 5 years. Our memories of what those games were like in the early years, very vague. And it's usually intentional for a lot of developers for a brand new game to kind of gate progress a lot, because they're still developing game modes in the background. And they need to get them out. As well, yes, but you don't want to release a game mode and everyone can already finish it because they've already built their characters up maximum. So yeah, it's a balancing act. So, and you're right, it's 100% intentional.
I think maybe an unpopular opinion, but I see a lot of outrage about these things, and I understand why. It does suck, but it's also kind of what you sign up for. To an extent.
Well, I mean, well, if you come to a hero collector, you have to expect a grind.
Yeah, exactly. They can't just give you everything just out of the goodness of their hearts. At the end of the day, they need to make money. That's why they make these things.
Yeah. No. I think the method in how things are is fine. I mean, for me personally, as long as it's an even playing field for everyone, that's all that I care about. It's only when it starts to become too, there's an uneven playing field because of bugs or other stuff. That's when it becomes an issue. But if it's a grind for everyone, then it's a grind for everyone. It's just how it is. Epic ability mats, so the green ones, are intended to be rewarded for singular achievements, like finishing, for example, the final tier of a marquee, which they currently are. As more leader characters enter the game, the need for epic ability mat also increases, and they'll add more ways to acquire them over time. I do wonder whether we will see ability level increases beyond, say, level 6 at the moment.
More than likely, that's what they did in Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah, and they did the same. So if they do, I imagine the next tier of abilities will probably need green ones. So it won't be just for the leaderships.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I'm pretty sure, exactly what they did for Galaxy of Heroes. And then you have Zetas, which completely change the way a character works.
Yeah.
That would be like your T4s in MSF, basically.
Finally, where to farm glyphs. So glyphs will be earned through light and shadow campaign, normal energy, as well as through opportunities and the supplies. So I didn't play Swagger, but from what I gather, they had a separate energy just for glyphs.
A separate campaign and separate energy for it, and separate challenges as well.
So to have us split our need to farm from characters to glyphs, that's a tough one.
I imagine it's going to release like that, unfortunately, and eventually down the line they will make a campaign for it or release a separate energy for it to ease that bottleneck. Basically, I imagine that's how they're going to do it.
Because it's not just light shadow campaign. It's normal light shadow campaign. So there's no characters in those nodes, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to make the hard choice. Do I chase the glyphs or do I chase character shards? And
Yeah, you're gonna have to
that's very tough
very carefully
because of the star
find a balance.
changes.
Yeah.
You're trying to get to 6 star, 7 star, where there's a significant increase. But now you've also got to factor in, do you chase glyphs? So where my head is, try get the stars for one particular team, then go for the glyphs for that team. And if I can have one really good team, that would suit me well for both arena and get a high point for one team in raid as well.
The way I look at it is basically that to start with, but let's say I've finished working, like I've maxed out my 5 teams for raid, and I'm going to start a 6th. I would probably start farming the glyphs for them earlier to prepare for when I actually start working on that 6th team. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's going to be painful. I hope it doesn't release like that. But yeah, I can see that it will.
Yeah, it probably will. It's going to suck having to choose where your focus is going to go. Yeah. So I guess that was pretty much the gist of the AMA. There's some good information there, some not so good, but I think overall I'm pretty happy with what we got out of them for that.
Yeah. And they did it on not the actual Heroes of Middle Earth Reddit. They did it on the
yeah, it wasn't on. No, you're right. It wasn't on that. I think it was on the standard.
Yeah, I think it was just on fantasy.
Yeah, it was on fantasy.
Yeah, which is good. It's just free advertising, really.
Well, I think that was the
prime
aim of it all, was to get more Lord of the Rings fans into the game, or any fantasy fans. So I mean, out of that, obviously, most of the community started speculating on the legendary characters that they might be seeing. We've obviously spoken about who we think might come into the game. I think there's probably a slew of a bunch of other characters as well. Could potentially be legendary from the Hobbit. But, yeah.
We just get Smaug as the legendary. Just a giant dragon. Why not?
Just takes the entire field. Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Now we've obviously had from the start of the game just an influx of light characters. Yes. Apart from Haradrim. Apart from the 2 Haradrim marquees. The rest have all been light. And still light for the foreseeable future. So I wanted to, and that's part of the reason why I'm hoping for a Shadow Legendary. But aside from just the Legendary, surely we're going to start seeing a few Shadow characters inbound.
I believe it was mentioned on the AMA that they're going to be releasing some more Shadow characters soon, TM.
Well, not the, or maybe the AMA, but in the Q&A with Nick Reinhardt, he mentioned the next large character that they're working on is a Shadow.
Yeah.
And that shadow character is apparently going to fit into a faction. So yeah, who knows? There's as far as current characters in game, current factions in game. You've got Dunland that
I
don't
could
have a full team.
see,
You've got Misty Mountain that
yeah,
we've mentioned already that don't need a fifth.
I could see maybe a warg for Dunland,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
I feel like I feel like wargs would be more specifically like a warg rider faction though, like warg
Mm.
rider orcs, maybe. I don't know, but it's a possibility. I can't really think of any others.
Well, I mean, as far as in terms of leaning into the beta, we've still got Nazgul's.
Yeah, I'm
We're in the beta, then we haven't.
not entirely sure about this, but I read somewhere, and it wasn't anything official, that apparently CG said that they want to give each Nazgul their own time in the spotlight, sort of thing.
Okay.
So, and that they would kind of be releasing them like over time, each one over time. So
So
I'm
like
not,
just to be solo plug and play characters until they have a team of their own.
I don't really know. I'm not sure if that came from anything official or if it's purely just rumor and speculation. But
Sounds more of the latter because I don't believe I've
yeah,
seen anything about it.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, yeah, we've spoken about it before. They're the only characters so far that we haven't seen from the beta that we know they exist.
yeah.
Um,
I imagine the Witch King will probably release around the time
the PvP.
multi-squad PvP. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, when we played with them in the beta, they were definitely a PvP
yeah,
team,
100%. Yeah,
and they would suit that game mode to a T.
yeah,
Well, it's kind of like Gandalf. Like we spoke about it the other day. Like looking at his kit, if you look at his abilities,
it's like
each
perfect for each chapter of the raid. Yeah,
yeah, he's got an ability that kind of aligns with the mechanics for each chapter. Um, so I was looking at it and I was trying to see which of his abilities might be the one for chapter 4 because he's got an immunity, I think, or a block,
yeah.
which aligns with chapter 3. He's
I think he's
got
got both immunity and block. Yeah,
yeah, and he's got one for chapter 1, and he's got something specific that would help for chapter 2. So yeah, I mean, there was a burn that he does. I'm wondering
was
whether the burn might be useful for chapter 4.
yeah, maybe. I imagine the basic attack that would be really good for chapter 2 because it does something like 1100% more damage.
Mm.
um,
The other thing is, so Gandalf has a if he dies mechanic, which is the same, or I think similar to Balin. And Balin, they mentioned, you know, um, if both of the Sylvan brothers are alive and Balin receives a fatal attack.
yeah, he kind of just doesn't die, gets a
Well,
second
yeah,
life.
and he
Yeah,
gets them stuff, and they mentioned
I think,
this is to assist with chapter 4 or something like that, right?
yeah,
Um, and
yeah,
Gandalf has a
he's got the on death mechanic. Yeah,
mm,
that thematically would make sense as well. If he just like boosted up the rest of the fellowship and they just go like ham on the Balrog, that could work. That yeah,
also for Balin to work. I wonder whether one of the Sylvan brothers applies taunt because you need him to die with both of the Sylvan brothers alive, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of want him to be taunting, and he doesn't have any taunt or provoke on his kit. So I wonder if one of them applies it to on him, and he
Maybe.
takes the hit uh,
Maybe.
and gets that fatal attack passive.
Hmm. Possibly. Maybe. I've got to see the kits. I'm surprised we didn't actually get the kits for the Sylvan Brothers.
Yeah, but I'm assuming we'll get each kind of blog post for each of the
Yeah.
brothers 1 week prior to their release. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming sometime next week we'll see a blog post for one of them, and then maybe the following week we'll see a blog post for the other.
Yeah.
Who knows? Um, yeah, I mean, no other speculation or characters we'd like to see. Maybe we'll just end with an update.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, so I'm still very hard farming Arwen, Elladan, and Onion.
Yes.
Oh, he will, Lumion will forever be known as Onion in this podcast. There was someone else we dubbed recently. Who was that?
Who was it? Oh,
Pekaloo.
no.
Pekaloo. Pekaloo will now be called Pavlova.
Pavlova, that's right. Oh, God.
I think you got to be an Aussie to know what a Pavlova is.
Yeah, true. I never thought about that.
Anyway, but back to my goals. Arwen, I believe, is 270 out of 300, so she's very close.
Jesus. Okay.
But Elladan's like 150, and Onion's about 200.
You're a lot closer than I am. My Arwen is, I think, like 180 out of 200. She's still only 5-star.
I had a good like 3 weeks before you finally were able to farm her.
Yeah. I'm doing double refreshes on each of them. So I think Lomion's at 250 roughly, and Elladan's 150. So,
Okay.
assuming that Elrond returns at the end of October, I'll probably have to buy some Arwen packs. I imagine I'll be fine for Elladan and Onion, but yeah, Arwen, I'm not sure if I'll make it. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't mind spending the money to get the 7-star Elrond. I'd rather just get it out of the way, because could be like another 6 months before his event returns again, and I'm just like, yeah, nah, that's long.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I went back to leveling Garadrim up a bit more. So they're all gear 8. I've been that for a while just because, as we mentioned, shadow crystals are at a plenty because not really getting too many of those characters that need those. So I got them to gear 8 pretty quickly. XP and ability mats are my 2 bottlenecks. So slowly getting them. I've had Wubet at 60 for a while. I finally got a few of this level 6 abilities as well. So I got them up to like level 55 or 58, depending on which of the level 6 abilities I needed.
Nice.
Still, in terms of getting all of the abilities I want to get for them, I still don't think I'm probably halfway there. It's just going to be a slow kind of
Well, I mean, yeah,
target.
we went over it the other day. It's very heavy investment team.
Yeah, similar to the RTR as well.
I'd say
Uh,
probably heavier than RTR.
uh, well, it depends on opinions on what people think are necessary or not. But I think again, I've got a few of their like in terms of Haradrim, few of their abilities I'm going to sit on and see how they play out first. If I
Yeah,
feel they need extra healing, for instance, then I'll bump up Wubet's passive,
yeah,
or I'm just going to do it in stages, um, and based on feel, you know. And that's how I normally play most of these games as well in terms of abilities. If
yeah.
I find they're missing something or need a bit of an extra kick, then I'll get the ability up that will help them with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing in terms of abilities and levels. Still farming the same characters, the elves, RTR, and also the two farmable Haradrim characters as well.
Yeah.
Account update. What about for you?
I have just, well, I've got my Narrowmere to 7. I just need the gold.
Mm.
um, I'm going to finish my last two RTR characters, Merry and Frodo. They're 6-star at the moment. I think Frodo's nearly about to hit 7.
Oh wow,
Um,
you're ahead of me in that instance.
yeah, I was
I
farming Frodo for quite a while, just kind of passively. I was just like, why not? He's a character.
I've only just hit 6 stars for both of them.
Okay. Merry, I'm behind on because I didn't bother with Merry because at the start of the game, everyone was like, yeah, Merry's shit. And I was like, yeah, Merry is shit too. And now he's like so important. I'm like, regrets.
I I mean, I didn't farm him mainly because I had other
Yeah.
characters to farm. Like I've stopped farming Isengard because I went the Haradrim route. But at
Mm.
the time I was farming Haradrim. They're all 5 stars. And this was before the star change. I got them up to 5 stars. And that's where they're at now. And I'm kind of okay with them being at 5 stars, to be honest. It's just you've only got a set amount of energy to work with. So you got to pick
Yeah.
where you're going to farm.
Well, that's the thing that I need to toss up. Do I want to, after my RTR, do I want to finish my Isengard because they're all pretty much at 5-star now? Or do I just want to go into Haradrim, but their characters aren't farmable yet? But they should be within the next month or so, roughly.
Well, according to the release, they should be next, I believe, after
Yeah,
Legolas and Gimli.
yeah.
So
I think they were about 2 or 3 weeks after.
yeah, but it'll be interesting to see where they go as well.
That's also another thing. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it's a good idea to go from one heavy investment team straight into another. So I'm kind
Mm,
of undecided at the moment if I want to finish Isengard or just work on Haradrim.
yeah.
It's a tough one.
Hey.
It's a tough one. But I will definitely be farming Legolas now because I just want him.
I think overall Haradrim suit the raids better.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some instances Haradrim, the Isengard team slightly outplays Haradrim, but I think in general, I think Haradrim will perform in all 4 chapters
A bit
better
better,
than
yeah.
Isengard.
Yeah.
especially like chapter 3, where they've got 3 ways of gaining turn meter over the opponents.
Yeah, that's another big thing. Yeah,
Or
I'm
4,
leaning.
including both of Robel's.
Yeah, I am leaning towards Haradrim. Just need to see when, one, they will be farmable, and 2, where they will go. And
Mm.
I
Luckily,
can
with
always just like go back around to Isengard later. There's not really any problem with that. And Haradrim would get that final chapter done of the challenge, the Light Crystal challenge.
yeah, that's actually one of my main things. Whether I'm going to try and build up Haradrim and hoping they'll assist there. Otherwise, it's going to have to be Gondor at this rate
Mm.
for me. But one of the good things about being bottlenecked so much is it's not like you need to make that choice now.
Yeah, pretty much. um, yeah, so pretty much RTR, and then Haradrim or Isengard, probably Haradrim, and then probably Rohan or something like that.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards. And I want to fit in Nuraz in there somewhere as well, just because I think the troll, I think he's just good plug and play character at the moment. So getting him to 7 would definitely be nice.
I've been using him as plug and play throughout the raids. Like I don't have Morza built for Isengard, so I sometimes throw him as a 5th there, or sometimes I throw him as a 5th for other teams as well. I've used him as a 5th for Haradrim. I can't remember which chapter. Not chapter 2, could have been chapter 1, just because he's got the cleanse. He does. You got the troll as well that gives him an extra unit.
Yeah.
And the troll's got a stun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the main reason. I use him in place of Bekaloo for chapter 2. And just the stun, it's so good.
Well, now it would be Freeze's chapter
2. Before it was freezing the game, it was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus I think Misty Mountain will probably have a 5th at some point in time.
I think they're definitely going to be like a late game team, like very late.
Yeah, I've got Brute pretty well built up. He's gear 8, 6-star at the moment. Kind of stopped at that because getting 300 shards was going to be costly. So,
yeah.
I've got him at 6-star. My Nuraz is 5 going into 6-star as well.
Nice.
It's really well because you got to choose between Halbarad or Bold.
Yeah.
So he hasn't really been developed that much, and Tordok even less so.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they get a good 5th, I could see them being a good team. Like Tordok is good as a tank in terms of he will taunt, but sometimes to his own detriment,
Sometimes he taunts too much.
Sometimes you're like, easy, dude. You're going to die. Like,
he's just like, hit me.
He's like, I can do this. Like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
He's got roid rage.
No, you're not ready for this.
Settle down, champ.
We always need a hero. But I could see a 5th that maybe keeps him alive, maybe?
Yeah, they do need a healer. That's another thing to consider. Azog wouldn't be a healer. I mean, he could be, but like, what's he gonna do? throws healing potions at them or something. I don't know.
No, but if he gives like death proof or
That's yeah, that could be good. Yeah, especially with Bolg, because Bolg under 50% health, it's like a truck. I think he's like the second highest damage character in the game. I believe Brute is first, and then Bolg second.
Yeah.
That not a bad idea, actually. Yeah.
And both of those characters are on Misty Mountain, so
Yeah.
two strong, very hard hitting characters. So the team on paper looks like they can do well. They just need a good fifth, I think.
Yeah.
Bring
they need
them
that
together.
Speed as well. They're very slow, but they hit hard. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a good episode in terms of updates that we received from CG.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else for us to cover.
Don't think so. I think we pretty much covered all.
I think both of us are just eagerly waiting for our chance to see the new chapter 1 changes.
Going to be doing a lot of testing.
By a lot, like 2 seconds worth, because
yes, because I'm going to rage quit.
Well, I mean, I've heard from a lot of people that are like, oh, first try 900k. Oh, thank fuck, you know.
Oh, I just mean, like, as I was saying in Guild earlier, like, I wonder if Ironhide will be as necessary for the elves to reach 900, or if you can just put him in another team now.
I honestly, well, I didn't have, but that's where I'm headed as well, in terms of maybe I can use the plug and play characters with weaker teams and get them up a bit.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the same for people that have been using Ironhide with the elves. It sounds like Elrond and Elladan are the two main things, the key characters there. So if they're going to carry, you don't really need an Ironhide.
Yeah, exactly. Got plenty of AoE between Elrond, Elrond, and Elladan. Just all the counter attacks and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and getting to 5 stacks is pretty simple. But I think, it'd be good to see. I think especially being like we've mentioned, being the first chapter into a raid. I think it'll have spirits a bit higher.
Yes.
And then chapter 2 will bring it down a bit, and then chapter 3, I think in general, chapter 3 is pretty decent as well. So I think player experience will start to improve with these changes. So I'm eagerly waiting for ours.
144 box this time, which we should. We've been like so close for 2 weeks now.
Well, I mean, considering we're seeing people say they're getting about 30 to 40% increase in their chapter 1 scores, that's more than what we need.
Yeah, 100%.
We're just so close, like you mentioned. So.
I think we only need like 4 mil or something.
Yeah, I'm quietly confident that we will get it, but we'll have to see how it goes. Oh, well, I think that's this episode. Obviously, next episode we'll chat about our very own chapter 1 experiences, and I guess Lord Balin will be out by then, and maybe any other blog posts that come our way between now and then. So, until then, if you guys enjoyed this episode, we will catch you guys next time.